Hey guys, happy Sunday, Sunday the 9th, I believe. So, I want to touch base with y'all. It's been a little bit longer for me to get on here today. Um, Pretty uneventful Sunday, but I did want to call out something I thought was pretty cool and something else I just think is beyond ridiculous. Um, but I want to touch base with y'all. So for me personally today, uh, it was a lot of catching up. A lot. I just got a text from Scott. I'll tell you about that in a minute. Scott Redding has become a dear friend. I've been in this journey. Anyway, and I guess I'll tell you about that story. Today was a day for me to catch up on a lot of rest that I've been double dipping between work and all. My son had a baseball doubleheader last night. They play indoors in the winter. Didn't get done until 10 o'clock at night, so I had left work and went right there. So today I wanted to make it to church, the new church that I had attended last week that Vanessa and Steve had turned me on to. Didn't quite make it. Just needed to physically catch up and get my health, especially with a few more weeks left of what's essentially a crazy schedule. And from there, went out and when I finally did get up and get around and moving around a little bit, got my son. Grace is at a Christmas concert tonight with her mom, and Kira went there. Landon didn't want to attend, so I stayed home with him. It's kind of neat little boy time. Got to watch the Eagles play the Cowboys. Just a terrible loss that just happened for the Eagles. I guess if you're a Cowboy fan, it's not so terrible. But it was a crazy football day. But I just enjoyed spending the time. Jamie took a picture with my son. I'll post it on my Facebook page, just sitting and kind of next to me watching the game. I happen to be wearing one of my Journey shirts today, which is rare. I don't wear them all that often anymore. Um, but God, the Dolphins beat the Patriots on a miracle play. If you get a chance to watch that video, the Steelers lost on one of the last plays of the game on a 4th and 6. The Eagles just lost on the last play of the game because obviously Dallas scored in overtime. But it was just a crazy football day. But it was a nice, quiet, relaxing day for me. The good news, what I was eager to share with you guys from my standpoint, was I'm off tomorrow before I hit this period where I won't be off a whole lot till Christmas. Um, but tomorrow's going to be totally dedicated to the book day. Take my son to school in the morning, and then totally. So I'm actually excited. I haven't given it much time lately, not because of lack of desire, just because of circumstances. So that's kind of what today was. Not a whole lot of activity, but I really needed it physically. Speaking of physically, I guess I want. Jamie keeps telling me to drop on the phone to show you guys this. To those of you that see me, if you're local, walk around these days, I am walking around like I'm a cripple. I walked healthier. I don't know what's happened to me and my knee, but I'm going to stand up for a minute and see if I can. As you can see, here's my left knee. I'm going to do it. I don't know if you can see in the picture, but this knee here is, I think, sizably different and looks more like an elephantitis kind of thing than the other knee. And that's all the result of whatever I did on the walk. And I just limp around. I literally limp. Last night it was sad. I got to my son's baseball game, and they played in an indoor stadium or indoor facility, so there's not much sideline. And I was trying to walk over to take a video of another ball player to send to his dad, who happens to be the coach but was out of town. And I tried to step over a kid's bag that was only, I don't know, 8 inches off the ground. And I guess what I normally would do, I tripped over it and I almost just went completely down. And it hurt so much because my right leg caught the bag and I stumbled a little bit. And I just don't have, I can't, I guess you should video me a little bit. It's kind of goofy. I can't even put on like my socks and my pants. I gotta kind of take my shorts and just get my toes in and pull them up. It's just bizarre. But anyway, Jamie's been telling me for some time, you gotta show the folks your knee and how ridiculous it looks. But and I don't know if you can tell from there. Anyway, so there's some football stuff, and today the one story that I wanted to talk is two stories. The one real positive. Um, I love when people that have the means are willing to help others out. Certainly, people helped me out along the way, but there's people that just have this filthy amounts of money and don't always do things with it. Some take private 747s out to Paris for two people, which, hey, it's their money, I'm not going to judge, but kind of seems a little bit extravagant. Anyway, I read a story today. Kid Rock in Nashville had gone down to, I don't know if it's one local Walmart or several local Walmarts, but people for Christmas had put things on layaway, and he went and paid like $180,000 of people's bills for Christmas. And I just think that's the coolest stuff, man, when people take their wealth and do something good with it for others, you know. He didn't have to do it, certainly, and he did, and I think that's brilliant. The other thing I got to talk about, though, is it's happened now twice in a week. You know, nobody wants to use racial slurs, and nobody wants to, you know, say things, but, you know, one of the lessons I was teaching my son tonight is social media. It just stays with you forever. I mean, even the things and this is why I've never been into social media before, even the things I'm doing now, if I say something could come back to bite me. If 10 years from now I have a different opinion, or I change somehow emotionally, or the way I think about things, you know, someone will call these up and go, look at what you did, or what you said. So Kevin Hart, a famous comedian actor, was taken away from, or stepped down from hosting the Oscars because he had used some insensitive comments referring to, I think, gay people 7-8 years ago. I think that's what it was. And then a young man by the name of Kyler Murray, who won the Heisman Trophy the other day, within, you know, hours after winning the Heisman Trophy, people are posting tweets from him from when he was 14, 15 years old, you know, 6-7 years ago, where he said, you know, queer instead of whatever. Was it appropriate? No. Are we really? I wonder what is about these people. It's almost like they were hoping he would win because they dug back into his archives to go find what somebody said in a given moment. It's just so bizarre that hours later, that, you know, again, you got to post this out, and then I'm trying to make a social statement here, not just about that, but I look at, you know, one of the things I find interesting, I won't say funny because it's not funny, but I find interesting, is how society looks at certain crimes, particularly with athletes. As it comes to private life, a lot of things don't get publicized, but athletes, celebrities, you know, Ray Rice was a football player that hit his fiance. Clearly wrong. No one should never hit a woman. Frankly, no woman should ever hit a man. I wish they always say it one way, but they never say it the other. Like, it's okay for women just to come up and start slugging you. But yet he paid for it with his career. Nobody would hire him because of the backlash. And then recently, another star football player, Kareem Hunt, was on video. Similar situation, and the team released him immediately. Not so much for his action, but along with his action, how he responded when they questioned him about it. But I guess my question is, you know, when does somebody that does something like that get the benefit of the doubt that they could have changed or learned or whatever? I'm not saying they did in 3 months. You know, but Ray Rice is happily married now. As far as I know, he's never been in the news for abusing his wife again and things like that. But for the rest of his life, he'll always have that stigma and moniker of being a you know, domestic abuser. And you know, when it comes to job hunts and things like that, when it comes to athletes, you know, that's their realm. And it made news also recently because the Washington Redskins hired, or a gentleman got cut by the San Francisco 49ers for committing the second infraction against his girlfriend, and then the next day the Redskins picked him up. So to them, you know, the talent was worth the backlash. But it's just the thing about our society. You know, you can do drugs, and it's almost like if you're clean, you're celebrated. You can deal drugs. You can do a lot of egregious things that are crimes nonetheless. And I guess that's my point. To me, there's penalties that are criminal penalties by our justice system, and then there's societal penalties. And certain crimes, the societal penalty far out exceeds the judicial one. But anyway, so that's just really kind of my thought. I'm not trying to defend these guys' actions by any means. Um, but I wonder, you know, if Kareem Hunt is a young man, is 24 years old, if he spends the next year in counseling, he's in counseling now, went to intensive counseling, you know, should he never be allowed to play in the NFL again because of this? I don't know the answer. I'm not saying he should. I'm just wondering, when is it enough? I mean, we're going back into people's Twitter accounts 7 years ago to see something they said, as if any of us were the same person we were 7 years ago. I don't know. It's just one of those commentaries I'm making. I don't really have an answer, just something to share with you guys. But kudos to Kid Rock, and I wanted to share something else with you, just kind of reliving my journey today on a few different levels. One was I heard a Christmas song that I shared with Bob and Sue out in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I got to relive that moment while driving in the car today. But Scott Redding and his family got me into a fantasy football league a short while ago, or before the year started, and I'm in the playoffs. I'm currently 1/2 of 1 point ahead of Hope, his wife, and he said, "Hey, good season, Jim." And I said, "Well, it's not over yet, you know." I said, "You have to have faith," and he said, "That's not faith. That's prayer or something like that." And I said, "Well, look, it got me to meet, it's how I came to meet you, having faith." And he said, "Faith? I thought it was a guilt trip I gave you." And the truth is, if you've followed me from back in the day, the story I'll just share with you quickly, which will be in the book, was I was leaving Van Wert. So I was leaving Delphus, Ohio, going to Van Wert, Ohio that day, and I got a text from Scott the night before and heard about me through the local media or Facebook, and today you're welcome to stay with us. And I think he thought I was taking a different path, and he lives in a county that's like 20 miles south of where I was walking, but I didn't know it at the time. So as I was walking up, I said, "Well, let me look into it, and give you a shout back." And the next day was probably the craziest, greatest days of the journey. It was where I met Margie Jacobs and Tom Lane and some other folks. And but Margie was such a wonderful person that I had later said, "Scott, hey, look, I don't mean to be unappreciative, but you're a bit off my path, and I'm gonna, I appreciate the offer I'm gonna pass." And his comment next is probably, and if you want to say guilt to me, it's fine, but he said, "Oh, I was kind of hoping to introduce you to my children. I think what you're doing is amazing," and I thought it would be. So, I really wanted to try to get to meet him. Margie is such a wonderful, amazing person that when I told her the story, she said, "Well, look, they don't live that far. Why don't we head on down that way?" So I was able to meet him. So maybe it was the guilt trip. But anyway, Scott is like a brother to me now, and it's pretty neat. So there was that story from there. Anyway, it's Sunday night, Monday, get up, son breakfast, get him off to school, and I'm going to just, again, have a second day to relax, get the fireplace on. I'm going to appreciate that because I haven't spent much time in front of that. I come home every night and go right to bed, and I got the computer out, and we're going to bang away. So, guys, hope you have a great Sunday. Thanks for following. Recognize the folks like Kid Rock and that do things, even there are many, many people that do things, rich and less than rich, that do things not looking for the acknowledgement. In fact, I heard of one. There's a homeless gentleman in Colorado that has terminal cancer, and he was in Walmart. And I guess the people say he always does these sweet things, but he was in Walmart, and I think he bought a couple of toys for a toy drive. But there was something about this girl's bicycle that was sitting there, and I think they marked it down to $44 if you bought it for the drive. And he kind of said he wished he had it. He went back to his shelter and scrounged up whatever he had, and he had like $44 and a couple of cents. And he went back to the Walmart and bought it for somebody to give to. He didn't have a person in mind, just wanted to give it to the toy drive. And his answer was, "Look, I might not be here next Christmas." In fact, he probably wouldn't be there next Christmas. But it just goes to show, that caring and loving and giving, you don't have to be wealthy to do it. It could be time, could be a smile, could be a gesture, could be a small gift. And so kudos to Kid Rock, who has the money, to the gentleman out in Colorado who was homeless and didn't. I mean, it's that time of year for stories like that. I hope you guys share them with me and the site. Gonna rock and roll now. Chatted for a while tonight, so love you, Scott. Love you, Margie. Love everybody who's followed me on the journey and been part of it with me. Hopefully you have a great night. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.